Welcome back to winningbusiness.com. Now we bring you to yet another entrepreneur interview. Here with us today is Dr. Malik of InnerHour.com. Dr. Malik.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes. So basically, this interview is about your business, your enterprise, how you succeeded. But the first thing I'd like the viewers to really know is about the market of stress and mental health. Can you talk us through the market, the size?
So we like to look at the market as a number of people who need mental health support or psychological support. So we like to think of it less as a market, but more as the need in the society and in the country. And the last survey that was commissioned by the government of India, along with the demands in Bangalore, the National Institute of Mental Health and Applied Neurosciences, showed that there was about 150 million people in India who require mental health support. That's the kind of, if you want to look at it as a market, then that's the overall size of the market essentially. So there's a lot of people in India who require the support, and then you cut markets in different ways in terms of accessibility, urban, rural, but that's the overall number, 150 million people is what we're talking about. I was working in the UK for almost 14 years, so I came there as a psychiatrist and I was practicing as a psychiatrist. I was also working as a commercial director on the board of an NHS organization, the National Health Service Organization. And as part of that role, we took a lot of our own therapists in the organization online. We worked with a partner and we took them online so that they could start consulting with their clients through the online medium rather than meeting them face to face. And at the same time, I was getting a lot of queries from India of people requiring mental health input, and it became very clear that there is still a lot of service need of high quality mental health input in India. So those two things happened almost simultaneously. And I wanted to move back and start something in the mental health space here, and technology seemed to be an obvious answer both in terms of stigma as well as access. Now when I came back, I also met Dr. Batra, co-founder Shifali, who had been working online with mental health clients for a very long time in her practice. So in some of the meeting of minds, we both decided to actually come up with the initial idea of online consultations for psychological wellness, and then expand from there using technology to other parts of mental health. But that was how the initial idea came about.
Okay. So how does it work? Suppose if there is a patient who calls you and he's given you a particular issue that he's facing. So how do you address it? So what are the steps?
So let's look at a typical journey of a client today, right? So what typically happens is that we learned very early on that a lot of people who are struggling with psychological difficulties are not themselves aware that's what's happening. They know something is not right, but it's not very clear to them as to what is not right. So we have devised some quizzes and self-assessments that people can take, which gives them a better idea of what the challenge is. Now, these quizzes, for example, there's a quiz on are you sad or are you depressed? So people often come and take that quiz, and then they realize that actually they're suffering from, they might be suffering from depression. And then they come and connect with us and say that, hey, I'm not feeling great, and your assessment shows that I might be suffering from depression. So what can I do? Right? So we give them some generic advice, things they can do with their own lives. But we also then, for some people, we offer to connect them to the right kind of therapist who specialize in the area of depression. So typically what then happens is they go and look up the therapist's profile, and if they think that that's somebody they want to connect with, then we help them connect, book an appointment, and then they can have the consultation online through video, voice or chat. And then after that, a follow-up plan is developed between the therapist and the client collaboratively, and that's what's taken forward.
So do you also have a one-to-one therapy where the patient actually comes to your facility?
So right now, all of our work is online. We are in current conversations with offline partners to actually provide services offline as well in some of the cities in India. But see, one of the attractions of the model is that even today, a lot of our traffic comes from tier 2 and sub-tier 2 cities, where there's actually no supply of good quality therapists or psychiatrists. So a lot of people actually come from those cities to online and they get help, which would not happen in an offline model. But we do know that there is a substantial population within the metros who would like to come and see somebody offline as well. So that's why we're talking to clinic partners to work in partnership with them to provide the service offline as well. Currently we don't do it.
Okay. Two things, just because you mentioned about 2 tier and 3 tier, is it affordable?
So we are trying to make it as affordable as possible. So we're constantly looking at our business model and saying how can we make it more affordable for people. So affordable is a very relative term, right? So what might be affordable for you and me might not be affordable for somebody living and working in a different city with different economics. So I'd like to think it's affordable for a lot of people because we are getting paid customers. But is it affordable for everybody? No, it isn't currently. So I think we are constantly striving to say how can we actually combine technology and good product design along with the therapeutic expertise to bring the price down constantly. That's how I do.
So what is the general price for a particular ailment?
So typically our sessions start at about 250 rupees for 30 minutes, and then the price ranges based on the therapist you're talking to and their experience and expertise. So that's how the price is. Instead of the ailment, the price variation happens because of the experience of the expertise of the therapist. So but it starts about 250 rupees for 30 minutes.
What are the brand portfolio? Do you have any more verticals in this segment?
So we are currently already with the direct to consumer vertical. We are providing services to individuals already, and at this point we are also we've developed a product for schools that's allowed to go into the market next month, this month, this month, and we are developing a platform that's customized for corporates. So which should be in the market by mid-May. That's three verticals: the direct consumer, the corporates, and the school model.
Okay. So what is the typical age group that is the target age group that you have?
So we started with the assumption that the target age group would be somewhere between 25 and 40, right? So but we've seen huge variation of both things. We've seen 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds coming and talking to us. We've also seen 70-year-olds coming and talking to us. So it just surprises. So right now, whilst we still believe that the demographic between 22 and 40 might be the one that's most likely to take our service, we are also catering to a much wider population.
So what are the major issues that you face? What are the major ailments that the customers or patients would like to come and take your therapy?
It's a good question. So the two most common areas, unsurprisingly, in India are depression and relationships. So especially around marriage relationships, essentially. Those are the two most common areas that people come and talk to us about and seek help for. So as you know, depression, there's about 60 million people in India who suffer from depression. So it's not surprising that that's a big chunk of what's coming through in terms of people seeking help. But also people struggling with different aspects of their marriages are coming and talking to us, seeking counseling for that.
Can you run us through so that the viewers will know what is the typical kind of issues that is confronted with for the therapist? Typical around marriage.
So that's a big thing. So and some of the issues have surprised us as well in terms of how frequently we're dealing with them, and some of them are more understandable. So if you will segment it, right? So there are issues typically with somebody adjusting in a new marriage, right? Somebody who's recently got married, and this is especially with women, but not exclusively with women, but who's got recently married and is either adjusting with the new partner, especially in an arranged marriage when they didn't know them before, or with the new in-laws. That's one set of two people who come and talk to us. Then there are people who've been married for a few years and are coming talking to us about saying, how do I keep my relationship alive and how do I keep the spark in the relationship going? Surprisingly also, there are a lot of people now who are thinking of divorce and separation. As you would know, divorce rates in India, especially in Mumbai, are skyrocketing and have gone up significantly in the last 5 years. So there are people who are coming to us at the point of saying, I can't be in this relationship anymore. Should I or should I not stay in it? And there we help them think through things in a more systematic manner and help them work their options out. The other thing we are seeing is around infidelity. There are people who are coming and telling us that their partner has been unfaithful. When they know about either the partner told them or they found out, and it's caused a huge amount of upheaval in the relationship, but also a lot of psychological distress. So they need some help with dealing with the psychological distress, but also they need some help in, again, thinking about their options of doing it. Saying, what do I do now? Do I stay with this person? Do I leave this person? Do I forgive this person? And if I stay with this person, how can I move forward in this? So infidelity is something that we are surprised about in the frequency in which we see. We know all of you have seen infidelity, but we're surprised by the frequency in which we see.
So having mentioned about Mumbai and the divorce rates in Mumbai, can you take us to the other cities of the country?
So I think we are unfair to pick one city. I know there's been lots of talk about Bangalore and other sort of hub. But I think what we need to look at is the characteristics of urban centers where psychological business will be higher and why it's higher, because that's the only way we can actually drive intervention. Right? So if you think about all these cities where there are lots of tech jobs or BPO centers, where young people are moving to the first jobs, having left home for the first time, sometimes we working night shifts for long hours, in stressful environments, but without significant social networks to protect them. That's where the incidence of psychological distress goes up. And so I think depression and stress and psychological illnesses are a universal phenomenon that happen across the country. It's just that some areas get highlighted more because of the nature of the jobs or nature of the economy that's prevalent in that area.
So tell our viewers, sir, how a typical patient would call you, and then how would you approach the patient? They want, obviously they want anonymity. They would want some kind of secrecy, but they would also want some kind of a comforting answer. So how would you approach a patient?
So typically, this is true both for online and offline. There are very high ethical standards and guidelines for privacy and confidentiality, which we follow. Right? We follow international guidelines for confidentiality in our clinical encounters, in our client encounters, where we see clients. But more than that, I think when people come to us, they're looking for somebody who understand their problem and not judge them for it. So, and as experts, we are trained throughout our training and in our practice to be able to offer understanding but not judgment. Because it's very important that somebody is able to open up to you and trust you and actually give you the whole picture of what's going on, so that you can provide the right kind of help for them, and judgment comes with the way of that. A degree of warmth and empathy is very important, which is what our experts are able to provide based on their training, where we are able to try and, not always able to, but able to at least we try and put ourselves in the other person's shoes and understand what they might be going through and reflect those feelings back to them, that a connection is made. I think the initial 15-20 minutes are very, very critical in developing that connection and understand the problem. After we've understood it, there are well-defined frameworks which include things like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is our mainstay of what our therapists practice, which our therapists then use, our counselors then use to actually help the client with the individual problem. After the first session, typically we again try and reflect back what we've agreed as the actions that the person would do, and make sure that our understanding is shared. So we reflect that at the end of our action plan, and we discuss the action plan at the end of the conversation, and then agree for a follow-up conversation. And that's what typically happens in our first session. Clients are also able to message the therapist back in the middle of sessions, in between sessions essentially, and say that if they ask any particular questions, or they are able to contact us and say I want to see them sooner. So there's a degree of flexibility also, because we work in the evenings and on weekends. It also provides a degree of comfort and convenience for people who are working, who can then access the services at convenient times as well.
So when you say online, so are you available 24/7?
So typically our service is available 24/7, but the bulk of our therapists are available to 10 or 11 o'clock at night on individual days. So we don't currently have therapists after midnight, and we're working on that to expand that availability.
So given your the expertise that you have, you think if you are able to scale up this business, the going divorce rates will come down?
So I don't know the answer to that. What we hope will happen is people will be living happier lives. So whether they choose to stay in relationships or not is a choice that every individual must make, depending on how happy they are in the relationship and how fulfilling they find relationships. So our aim is to help people live happy and healthier lives, whether that's with a particular partner or not, is an individual choice.
So what is the USP of this business model?
So I'm not so hung up on this particular business model. I think there are many more things we can do in the model itself. And the USP of our business is that we've been able to put together a team of experts who have highly qualified, who have good experience in the psychological domain, along with people who are very good product designers and people who are good in terms of technology, and pull them together to create something that really connects with people, right? And as you asked me initially about affordability. Now we're taking this to the next level and saying, can we create products on top of this that might bring the cost down, that might bring the accessibility out, that might allow people to help themselves in between sessions, that might allow people to help themselves regardless of whether they take therapy or not. So can we now start building products on top of that, but both for individuals and for organizations? I think that the USP for us in the team and the kinds of expertise we've been able to bring together.
Can you tell us about your plans to tie up with institutions, because you are catering to above 18 years of age, institutions like colleges and also some companies you plan to tie up so that you can go on a larger scale?
Yeah, so as I said, so in the online space today we're working only with people over 18, but we have built a product that's specifically for schools.
Okay.
So hopefully, as I said, that we should be rolling that out this month with a couple of partners into schools in Mumbai to start. On the corporate side, we built a product that is really trying to engage each employee in their own psychological levels. It doesn't mean that you have to be depressed or you have to be stressed. It's just about saying, how can we help each employee lead a happier, more fulfilled life? They're more productive both at home and at work. So this is about saying, I want to look at each individual and engage with them using our platform and help them lead happy healthy life. That doesn't mean giving everybody therapy or counseling. Everybody does not need therapy or counseling. Just about giving every individual some tools that they can lead a happier life. And those tools, so the platform building of corporate is particularly tailored to that. That we understand the psyche of the working employee. We understand the challenges they face today. We've worked with lots of companies in the past where there's specific challenges around stress, there's specific challenges around depression, there's challenges around addiction, challenges around relationships, both in the workplace as well as at home. And so we've now built a platform that allows people to engage with their own mind and give them tools to lead a happier life. And then they can also, if required, speak to a counselor, connect with a therapist, take some sessions, just get some advice. But that's almost a secondary offering. The first offering is, how can we help everybody, all the employees, whether they need counseling or therapy or not, whether they have a psychological illness or not, leading happier lives. That's the corporate product we built. For schools, we are more focused on raising awareness, both at a population level, around raising awareness of different conditions that might affect children, different things parents and teachers need to be careful about, but also raising awareness of within each child as to whether there are what the strengths and difficulties are. That's a program for schools that's focused on schools essentially. We are also planning to help schools with the right kind of counselors. A lot of schools now are mandated by regulators to have counselors or therapists available in schools. So we are now also working trying to partner with certain schools to provide that service with them, because we through our ecosystem we are able to ensure that there's a clear supervision structure, there's clear training, there's clear objectives available for each counselor that goes into schools. That's a plan for schools essentially. So we talked about the corporate plans and the school plans, I think, and institutions as in colleges and all. We started talking to some colleges around screening programs, where we can screen for anxiety, stress, depression, and then take that further and give them access to therapy and counseling where required at low cost. Because affordability becomes a bigger issue in colleges and schools.
So how many hours the students have to, or in the school segment, or even an employee of a corporate organization, how many hours do they have to spend with you?
It's not, so there's no one answer for that. It really varies from individual to individual. Some person could engage with a platform 5 minutes a day, and somebody might need to see a therapist twice a week for an hour each time. And so it really varies. That's the spectrum, right? So it really depends on what your needs are, and the needs will change, right? It's not like for one person the needs will remain same. So if somebody is very stressed today, they might need more intensive support, but in the long term they might not need any, or just need some engagement around self-help. If somebody is feeling absolutely fine today but just wants to be happier in one part of their life, they could work with the platform and figure out what kind of goals they can set and how they can monitor those goals. How can they be helped in achieving those goals to lead a happier life? So it really varies on individual, and there's no set answer for that.
So you have raised some funds to start this business. Can you talk us through about that, and also the further expansion when you want to scale up? To obviously you want to raise more capital, because this is a very mass market kind of a business. So can you talk us through?
So we raised a small round of about $450,000 from some angel investors, and and they've been extremely helpful in terms of not just the capital, but also their advice and also other support, non-capital support, things like office space, things like support infrastructure. So our investors have been extremely kind and helpful in building and getting us off the ground and then helping us to get to this point. We'll be back in the market in a couple of months to raise more capital for expansion. So and for our next set of products and to expand our existing products. So hopefully by the middle or end of May, we'll be back in the market to raise next round.
And what kind of numbers you plan to raise?
We are looking at our business modeling right now and we'll take a decision next month.
Excellent. So what is your mission and vision for InnerHour?
See, our mission is to help people lead happier, healthier lives. That's our mission, right? And we aim to do that by bringing together high quality therapists, high quality psychological experts, I should say, along with people who have a lot of technical expertise in terms of tech development and great product designers, and put that team together to build great products and services to help people lead happy, healthier lives. That's our mission. Our vision in the next 5 years is to become the largest mental health provider in India. We want to be the market leader in the psychological wellness space, but only do that by with a very high quality. So we are very focused. Even today, at a very small scale, we are very focused in quality, and we don't want to lose that. We want to maintain our very high quality standards. We want to maintain our processes and protocols. We want to scale them up rather than losing shape and suddenly trying to grow too fast. So we want to grow. We want to become the largest mental health player in India, the largest psychological wellness player in India, but only by maintaining our quality.
So, sir, talking about the business model, you mentioned about technology. Can you highlight to our viewers what about the technology? What are you planning to come out with?
So, right now, as I said, what the platform allows us to do is connect an individual therapist to an individual client. That's what the current model is. So, there are challenges with that model, both in terms of affordability, in terms of scaling, and in terms of maintaining quality. So, where you want to move to from that is saying how much more technology can be built into the model, where it allows us to scale up. There's more automation built into it. There is it's allowing for leveraging one therapist to more than one client at a time, or like giving more leverage to therapist not at a time, but allowing one therapist to deal with more clients essentially. So how does the platform do a lot of the work? That's what the principle is. So in the business model, the way it's evolving is they're looking at saying two things, right? One, how can we leverage our therapists more? Two, how can we look for alternate pairs, alternate partners, rather than just relying on the individual to pay for the services. So let me just address both of them one by one. So when we look at the first point, which is where we are building an app right now, and we are a web-based application and a mobile-based application, where we are looking at how can we, using our proprietary algorithm, how can we understand the areas somebody wants to work on in their life to enhance their happiness. And once you've understood that, then we can set up a program for them that they can engage with. Now, within that program, they also have the option of connecting with the therapist. They also have a connection option then of taking every session with the therapist. But the majority of the work is being done by them with the program. And then it's tiered up to actually connect with the therapist or connect with for a session, for just some advice or for a session. So that app is now in testing, and so it should be out in the market in 3 or 4 weeks time. And the idea is that is the product we're going to take to corporates. So we've taken a beta product to corporates and we got a lot of feedback from it, and so we kind of modified what we've already built to this more engaging, more personalized app that applies to everybody, where people are looking at how each individual can work with it, not just the ones who are feeling stressed or think they're depressed or have some psychological issue. Each individual can work with them and look at how they can enhance their happiness. That's the technology part we're building. So we're very excited about it. We've had a team of expert therapists and product designers along with our tech team talked to the room for the last 2.5, 3 months now, sort of building it as an engine. And a lot of research has gone into it, a lot of product design has gone into it, and now we're sort of about to launch the product.
How interesting! An app that can make you happy. So when you're talking about the vision for the next 5 years, what numbers are we talking about? Number of patients or sales or revenues or what kind of valuation? What do you have in terms of milestone for next 5 years?
See,
in terms of
business.
numbers?
So we have a business plan, but I don't think it's for public consumption stage. So we have a business plan, but to give you a sense of, we talked earlier about the market size, right? We talked about 50 million people in India, right? So and we want to be market leaders in that. So that should give you some sense of broad numbers, anyways. And we're building the digital part of the business ourselves, and we're partnering with people for the offline parts. So we're partnering with people for the offline connects and looking at the offline facilities for mental health. That's our business strategy. But the numbers and the plan, I think we share some of the time.
Okay. So, what's the advice you'd like to give to someone who wants to start up?
I think my advice is to commit fully to it and give yourself enough time. Because it always looks on paper that you can do things very fast, but it always takes longer than you think it would. I don't think part-time startup works where you want to do a job on the side. So that's my advice to commit. If you want to do this, we believe in something fully, then commit yourself to it fully and then give yourself enough time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
so much. That was an exclusive interview with InnerHour Talk. Stay tuned to www.winningbusiness.com. With more such interviews, more such success stories, maybe more such stories of apps that can keep you happy. Click to our YouTube channel, subscribe. Thank you.